Hey everybody, John Skiba here, and in this video I'm going to share with you a kind of a troubling trend I'm seeing in the media where they're trying to portray debt collectors as your new best friend. We're going to talk about why that's not the case and some things that you need to be very careful of. But if this is your first time here to my YouTube channel, go ahead and click subscribe. That way you'll be notified each and every week when I put out a new video that'll help you deal with your serious debt problem. All right, recently online, I've been seeing some articles that I think are kind of interesting. The most recent I saw was an article over at CNBC. The title of it is, We're Not All the Boogeyman, How This Debt Collector is Trying to Change His Industry's Bad Rap. And I've seen a few of these out there where these debt collectors are, they're doing these glowing articles about how these guys aren't bad guys. They're just trying to help you out. We're all in this together. Let's see what we can do to come up with a solution to the problem. Some of the quotes that they had in there I thought were kind of interesting. This debt collector, who actually worked for Capital Collection Management, is actually the owner and the founder of the company. He said that, debt collectors argue, he says, that you don't need to be afraid of the calls that are coming in. He actually tries to argue that they, as debt collectors, are brought in by the creditor to, quote, act as the consumer advocate to work with the consumer to find a solution. That's the first time I've ever heard a debt collector try to refer to themselves as a consumer advocate, but it doesn't surprise me. I see this even in litigation. There's one of the larger debt buyers here in Arizona. In their complaints, when they sue people, the first few paragraphs of their complaint, they spend all this time talking about what essentially a great company they are. They're just here to help you out. We're in this together. We're gonna get this done. It said. Let me read you just, and this is Midland Funding that files these. It says that it contacts consumers, it strives to treat consumers with respect, compassion, and integrity. Midland works with consumers to find mutually beneficial solutions, offering discounts, hardship plans, and payment options. My favorite line of this is, Midland strives to engage in dialogue that's honorable, constructive, and play a positive role in consumers' lives. So if you're being sued by Midland Funding right now, you may be not feeling that. You may be not feeling that this is a positive influence in your life right now. And I can say that overwhelmingly, and I'm not to say that the collectors themselves or even the attorneys, they're not bad people, but the role of the debt collector is to take money from you. And they will often go to great lengths to do that. That's why I see situations where, I recently talked to one of my videos that I went to a symposium with a bunch of creditors' attorneys. And one of the tactics that they recommended is that the collector, the attorney collector, find out what religious holidays are important to the debtor so that they can make sure to hit them with a wage garnishment or a bank levy right around that time, because it will have the most impact in trying to collect funds. They freely admit that even in some of these articles I've been reading, the one on CNBC talked about specifically, that they're allowed to contact you and kind of find you through social media. So they're stalking you on your pages, trying to find out what assets you have, where you live. I had a case recently where there was a $4,000 judgment that a debt buyer who paid pennies for the thing got against a consumer. The consumer made payments on it for years, ended up paying almost $20,000 on it. The client tried to settle out at the end and they wouldn't have anything of it. They weren't willing to work or budge an inch on that. And then one of my favorites, I actually have a new case where I handled the case. We defended the case, we went to trial, we won. The court ordered that debt buyer to pay my client legal fees. And then not only have they not paid their legal fees, now there's still a different collection agency is sending letters to them wanting to be paid, acting as if the whole trial didn't happen. So contrary to what debt collectors are trying to paint themselves as in these various articles, in some of the legal documents I get, they are not your friends. They are there to get money from you. That is their only goal, is to find ways, and sometimes to trying to find a very painful way for them to extract money out of your hands to pay their clients. That's their sole goal. And so, you know what? I'm fine with collection agencies as far as they have a role, debt buyers even, they have a role in society. The problem is when they don't play by the rules, or if they're doing this. They're trying to portray themselves as something they're not. They're not there to help you figure out a way to resolve your debt problems. They just want to take money from you, and if that happens to resolve the debt problem along the way, so be it. So you need to be very careful, and that's why the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, this federal debt collection statute, the FDCPA, that's why it has some very specific instructions as far as, we call it the mini Miranda. They have to put a disclaimer on all of their correspondence to say, look, we're debt collectors. Any information you're going to give us, essentially, we're going to use against you. We're going to use to try to collect money from you. So you need to be aware when you're dealing with debt collectors that that's their intended purpose, that even if they're acting all buddy-buddy, they're not your friend in this. This is completely business. This is you trying to work out a deal with them to either resolve it through settlement or through litigation, whatever it's going to be. Just realize that they're opposing to you. And despite what CNBC and some of these other outlets are trying to portray, debt collectors are not your friend. So hopefully that helps today. Appreciate you watching. If you go ahead, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Each week I put out new videos dealing with debt collection, bankruptcy, junk debt buyer lawsuits, those kinds of things that'll help you out. Thanks for watching today.